A man who once played cards with his female assistant right at the White House, the scandals during his term could be turned into a hit TV series by Hollywood. Even during his campaign, it was exposed that this young man had an affair, but fortunately, Bill Clinton had a wonderful wife. Hillary always stood behind him, supporting him. In fact, in terms of personal appeal, Hillary was even more outstanding than Bill ever since both of them were in the same college. The strong-willed Hillary, who was always straightforward and hated beating around the bush, caught the attention of the charming young man. But back then, Bill just wanted to have fun, not wanting to be tied down to a pure love. Instead of strolling in the park, Bill preferred studying how to become a leader with a significant influence, like a living legend lasting through time. From the first time he saw Kennedy, a young man who had already achieved a position of power, Bill felt that the dream of becoming the president of the United States was not too far-fetched. If the other person could do it in his early 40s, why couldn't he? However, it should be noted that that young man came from a prestigious family, a super-rich family in America, while Bill grew up without a father and had to live with his alcoholic stepfather. Bill's starting point, although not the worst in history, was still slightly better than Harry Truman's, but that didn't stop Bill as soon as he graduated. Bill immediately announced he would run for governor of Arkansas. The young man traveled across the state campaigning day and night, even though most people saw him as a lazy guy fooling around. On the other hand, Hillary, after graduation, went to work in Washington, where all the big shots gathered. But when she heard that her boyfriend was striving for a career in Arkansas, Hillary decided to quit her promising job in the Capitol to go back to help Bill. Moved by her gesture, Bill quickly organized a simple wedding at his living room, and they officially became husband and wife, but that did not stop Bill from continuing to see other women. According to leaks from Bill's campaign team, at the time, the record 6 highest was 25 women meeting him in just one day in 1978. Perhaps thanks to the support of his girlfriend's club or the 4-year-long campaign, Bill Clinton, at just 32, became the governor of Arkansas. This was also seen as his first step towards the goal of becoming the president of the United States. However, Arkansas at that time was one of the poorest states in the U.S., ranking near the bottom in all aspects. To earn a ticket to the White House, Bill needed to improve the state's economy. He confidently declared, "Look at me in the next 4 years." But after the first term, a series of flawed reform policies caused Bill to lose his position. However, he was still the youngest governor in U.S. history, so perhaps he didn't need to be criticized too much, right? The young man Bill Clinton, with ambitions to surpass Kennedy to become the youngest president in U.S. history, finally reached the position of governor of Arkansas at age 32. Becoming the youngest governor in U.S. history. His original plan was to continue surpassing all opponents to achieve his goal. But life isn't always like a dream. After one term, he was ousted by the people from the governorship just for raising vehicle registration fees from $19 to $36. The people couldn't accept the $17 increase in registration fees. They immediately voted for someone else as governor. I have to say that U.S. electoral laws are quite interesting. To keep your position, you must please the people. After losing the governorship, Bill sat down to reflect. Then he began a 2-year campaign for the next gubernatorial election. He once again stood before the people, explaining everything. Finally, he succeeded in reclaiming the governorship and continued to hold it for the next 8 years. During his long tenure, Bill's campaigning skills and persuasive abilities began to attract the attention of Democratic leaders. They recognized his oratorical skills and decided to assign Bill the task of supporting the Democratic Party candidate, Michael, in the 1988 presidential election. Bill Clinton worked tirelessly, speaking until he was hoarse, but Michael turned out to be a teammate who couldn't carry the load. He introduced a bizarre policy, allowing life-sentence prisoners to go home on weekends. This policy was too confusing, and the voters couldn't accept it. It was no surprise that Michael lost to Bush. However, Clinton's campaign skills and persuasiveness still impressed the Democratic leaders. 4 years later, he received the Democratic Party's nomination for president at age 46. Bill Clinton entered the race to challenge incumbent President Bush, an experienced opponent. George H.W. Bush initially appeared confident, waiting until near Election Day to start campaigning. But when he realized time was running out, he hurriedly launched attacks on Bill's personal life, from his marijuana use to evading the draft to infidelity. Unexpectedly, Bill Clinton handled the situation brilliantly. Regarding the marijuana use, he said, "I didn't inhale, so it doesn't count as smoking." Regarding evading the draft, he explained that he was just lucky enough to draw the exemption card. As for the infidelity, Clinton bluntly replied that his wife Hillary had forgiven him, so there was nothing left for outsiders to discuss. With his flexible handling and persuasive campaigning, Bill Clinton ultimately made a stunning comeback and defeated George H.W. Bush to become president. George was shocked. He couldn't believe that with such achievements, Clinton still managed to win. As for Bill Clinton, he remained calm and humble. "This is just normal. It's nothing serious." Do you know the first thing Bill Clinton did when he took office shocked everyone? What was that? That's right. It was the decision to allow soldiers in the U.S. military to openly engage in same-sex relationships. This policy exploded like a bomb in the U.S. Congress and stunned many people, especially General Call POW, who even suspected that Bill Clinton might have sexual orientation issues, which led to this decision. Of course, Congress didn't easily pass such a controversial law. They even advised Clinton that instead of coming up with such weird ideas, it would be better to focus on international issues, since the Soviet Union had just collapsed. The United Nations wanted the U.S. to take a leading global role, intervene in conflicts in unstable countries. At this time, the situation in Somalia was chaotic due to a coup. The United Nations asked the U.S. to step in as global police to restore order. However, it should be remembered that Clinton was someone who had dodged military service during the Vietnam War and had no military experience. So much so that he didn't even know that the U.S. president should salute soldiers. But due to pressure from the United Nations, Clinton reluctantly deployed Delta Force to Somalia to intervene. As a result, during an operation to capture Somali warlord Mohammed Farah aided, 2 U.S. Black Hawk helicopters were shot down. The rescue operation for the trapped soldiers resulted in the loss of 92 American soldiers. Clinton bitterly realized that being the global policeman only brought trouble and wondered to himself if he was sick to have agreed to intervene in other countries' affairs. Less than a few months later, a civil war broke out in Rwanda. The United Nations again asked the U.S. to intervene, but this time Clinton firmly refused. He left Rwanda untouched. He outright said that African countries should handle it themselves. As a result, within 3 months, the conflict in Rwanda escalated into a large-scale massacre, with around 800,000 people killed. The world was horrified, and the United Nations blamed the U.S. for refusing to intervene, saying that Clinton's refusal caused the horrific genocide. But Clinton didn't care. He was more focused on his presidency, which was about to be in jeopardy. Back home, the FBI was investigating a bank fraud case involving a bankrupt company whose shareholders were none other than the Clintons. To avoid being implicated, Clinton quickly appointed a trusted ally as a special prosecutor to investigate the case. But this prosecutor, who thought he had gained the president's power, unexpectedly became an umbrella protecting the biggest scandals in the U.S. Financial fraud cases, ambiguous scandals, and most famously, the blue dress with a zipper. All of these were brought into the light, a series of events that could have completely ruined Bill Clinton's political career.